Aubrey, I figure that you really love talking about IELTS. Is that correct?
You figure correctly, Jessica. I'm excited about the vocabulary we were talking about. Spoiler alert, figure is in each of them. And these are amazing phrases to boost those vocab scores on both speaking and writing, especially speaking.
Yeah, totally. I was talking to a friend on the phone a couple days ago. That's how I thought about this because we were talking and I was like, I figured that you didn't want to go. And then right away I was like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, students never say that on IELTS. Like, this is such
Exactly.
great vocab for the podcast. So today, guys, we're going to teach you 4 phrases with this word figure. They all have different meanings. They're all very native and natural. They're all above band 8 for vocab. So, guys, we do 2 new episodes every single week. Don't miss anything. We also have bonuses. We have lots of fun stuff for you here on the show. So hit follow right now so you never miss an episode.
Yes, and we also want to make sure that you guys are aware if you want to know what you would get on the IELTS exam if you took it today, we have created a very quick quiz where you can find out if you go to allearsenglish.com/my score. You get
Yeah.
your estimated IELTS band score and free resources at your level. So check that out.
Awesome. So let's get to it. Let's start with that first one, Aubrey. Um, you can use it, it's in past or present, right? Because I think it's very common both ways. So when we're trying to explain something we believed or thought in the past, right? We would say, I figured. For example, I figured dinner was ready, but he hadn't even started cooking yet. So it's like, if I'm describing maybe I had a bad night last night, or I'm telling a story about a partner making dinner or like a difficult thing at home or something, these are all possible speaking answers. And this is such a natural phrase that students never use.
Yes, I grew up saying in the Northwest in the US, we say, the way I figure it. And it's sort of an interesting way to say, like, I'm just about to say my opinion. It
Yeah.
just means I think. It's kind
Yeah,
of a
that's it.
funny phrase, but I never hear students use this.
I was an examiner for 14 years. I've been a teacher for more than 20 years, and I don't think I've ever heard a student use this, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it is so native and it is slangy. It is informal, guys. So only use it on speaking. This is not an opinion phrase for writing.
Yes, good point. All right, let's move to the next one. Figure out. This is a great phrasal verb. It just means that you realize something. You started to know something,
Yeah.
right? For example, when I was around 6 years old, I figured out that if I cried, my brother would buy me ice cream. That is really good. Jessica actually came up with that. Is this a true
Yes, this is
example?
true. This is totally true. Okay, and I use figured out again here. So I'm gonna read this example
Nice.
because this is like honest. When I was around 6 years old, I figured out that if I cried, my brother would buy me ice cream. So I figured out how to cry on cue. So on cue means I could cry whenever I wanted to.
Right, you could fake it. Yes, this is so good, and you can see how this would be so useful because whether you're talking about what you do with friends or where you like to eat, there's always an opportunity to say something you realized, something you discovered, and you
Totally.
could replace that with "I figured out."
Exactly. I mean, I do hear students say realize all the time. Like, that is a word you guys know. And this is a one-to-one switcheroo here.
Yeah.
Anytime you're going to say realize, you can say figured out.
Yes, I figured out the restaurant was closed when we showed up. Nobody was there. We had to come up with a new plan, right? Instead of saying "I realized," throw in "figure out."
Totally. Or like when I was 22, I figured out that I did not want to be an astronaut. I don't know where
Nice.
this example came from. Instead, I realized I wanted to teach English.
There you go. No, it's so true. It's just so versatile, right? You guys, so many different speaking answers you're going to be able to throw in this phrasal verb.
All right, my friend. What is the next way we use figure?
Yeah, so we use the phrase figure eight, which is just the shape of an eight, right? Often you'll hear this in the Olympics with ice skating,
Yeah.
where they're making the shape of an eight with their movement.
Exactly, exactly. And note that we don't use this with other numbers. We don't say a figure 7 or a
No.
figure 4, right? No, it's only figure 8. And one reason why this is a phrase and none of the other numbers have this phrase is because the figure 8 is also a symbol for like the
Infinity.
infinity. Yeah, because it
Right.
never ends. It's a never-ending shape. So it has more meaning to it, right? Yeah, but I think it's useful if you're talking about watching the Olympics or watching sports on IELTS. You could say, I can do a figure 8 on ice skates, actually, but that's about it. Not like the Olympic figure skaters. So there's
Yes.
another way we use it, right? Those are
Yeah.
figure skaters, though those artistic ice skaters.
Yes, I'm when I'm on the phone, I can't just sit, I'm always pacing, and I often find myself pacing in a figure 8, so this would be an amazing thing to throw into an IELTS answer, right? To be like,
That's
I
so
often
good.
walk and find myself walking in a figure 8 when I'm on the phone, something like that, because
That's so
it's
good.
just such a less common expression, the
Yeah.
examiner's gonna perk up when they hear that.
Oh, 100% for sure. All right, guys, the last one today. Now, here, guys, we have also a note on a mistake that we hear a lot of students make. Aubrey, have you ever heard a student say something like, I want to get my body shape better? I want to improve
Yes,
my body shape. Guys, I understand what you're saying, but that is
right.
not correct vocabulary.
Exactly, we don't say it that way.
Mm-mm.
We often will instead say figure, right? Oh, I'm aiming for a better figure. I'm trying to improve my figure. Instead of saying body shape, we
Yes.
use figure to talk about someone's figure.
Exactly, exactly. So here's an example that Aubrey thought of. The way I see it, everyone should love their body. I've never thought of myself as having a nice figure, but we should all think that about ourselves.
Yeah, this is
And
tricky. I was trying to think of like an example I would use on IELTS because when it comes to like describing someone's figure or even my own figure, I feel like it's sort of a judgment on someone's body to say they
yeah,
have a nice figure or don't have a nice figure. So I'm like, what maybe would I say? I'm like, oh, I could see this just like talking about body positivity. Like everyone should
yeah.
think they have a nice figure.
Totally, exactly. Um, the reason why it's important to realize there's some extra connotation here, like Aubrey said, when you say figure to describe body shape, it is purely superficial. It is just the shape. That's it. And that's kind of judgmental. And we're moving away from that these days, right? We don't want to comment just on how someone looks. We want them to be healthy, not just like have a nice figure, right? So if you want to say like, oh, like their body looks good and they're healthy, right? You could say they're in shape or they're fit. It means like they have some muscles, looks like they exercise, they're looking good.
Yes, absolutely. I want to point you guys to an amazing episode that Lindsay and I recorded on the Alders English podcast. It was number 2230 and was called How Should You Describe Someone's Appearance in English? There's so many useful tips and vocabulary in that episode that would be perfect for the IELTS exam.
Yeah.
If you're describing someone on speaking part 2 or yourself or whatever on speaking part 1, there are some things in English that if you start describing someone's body, their shape, it might actually make the examiner uncomfortable. So you should check
Yeah.
out this episode to know what you should describe, like eye color, hair color, yes, some other things we should avoid.
And it's such a good way to get ideas for those difficult IELTS questions, right? Maybe something
Yes.
about like body image, healthy mental attitudes towards exercise and dieting. These are all IELTS topics, guys. And they do trip up students because these are complex societal issues. And you guys mentioned these on All Ears English. So check that episode out, guys. Again, it's All Ears English 2230. How should you describe someone's appearance in English? So follow All Ears English if you're not doing so already.
Awesome. This is so great. I'm excited for you guys to start using this vocabulary, whether you're talking about something you figured out or sharing the shape of figure 8. So much great vocab here, and definitely use I figured instead of I thought, especially to
Nice.
avoid repetition. If you've already
Yeah.
said I thought, the next time you could say I figured.
Totally. I love it. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on Friday.
Awesome. See you Friday.
Bye.
Bye.